Tonight on the Dreamy Physicist, you drift beyond the comfort of stars into a place where space bends, light trembles, and gravity becomes a whisper so deep it swallows even time itself. Tonight, you'll stand at the edge of the quietest scream the cosmos has ever known. Hi there. I'm so glad you're here. Take a deep breath with me. Let your body become heavy, not in burden, but in calm. Let your thoughts stretch like constellations across the soft ceiling of your mind. You've arrived at the beginning of a very strange and beautiful story. There's a sound, older than any sound you know, a vibration beneath the stars, beneath even thought. You can't hear it with your ears, but your body listens when you are still enough. It is the voice of gravity, the universe's original hum. It moves everything: clouds, tides, planets, your bones, without asking. You feel it each time your feet press against the floor. You trust it each time your body falls into sleep. But gravity is not always gentle. Sometimes, when it grows too strong, it stops being a background song and becomes the whole story. Tonight, you follow that song to its loudest place, to where gravity folds space into silence, to where light loses its way, to where the universe pulls inward and will not let go. A black hole, but not a monster, not a villain in the sky. No, it is something quieter and far more strange. It is the aftermath of a star's long life, a sun that shined for billions of years, burned through its fuel, and could no longer hold itself up against its own weight. The star collapses, not with fire, but with surrender. It folds in, layer upon layer, until it becomes a single, invisible point, so dense that nothing can escape it, not even light. Imagine that, the very thing that lets us see, suddenly has nowhere left to go. That is what you float toward now. As you drift through space, you pass the outlines of familiar galaxies, spirals, ellipses, clusters, spinning like silk wheels in slow motion, each one held together by gravity, spun by time. And then, like a silence in music, there is a gap, not empty, but darker than dark. A place where light vanishes, not because it is gone, but because it cannot leave. That is the black hole, not visible itself, but known by its absence, like a footprint in space. Around it swirls an accretion disk, a glowing ring of matter, spiraling ever inward. Dust and gas, drawn in like moths to a quiet flame. The heat here is immense, not from fire, but from friction and fall. It glows not because it lives, but because it is dying in slow, brilliant spirals. And you approach it with wonder, not fear, because the black hole is not a place of destruction, but of mystery, a question posed in silence. The closer you drift, the more the rules of reality begin to bend. Time slows, stretching like honey. Space curves, as if unsure of its direction. You float toward the event horizon, the boundary, the point of no return. Here, gravity grows so strong that escape becomes impossible. But this line is invisible. No barrier, no wall, just a silent threshold between two ways of being. To a distant observer, you appear to stop, hovering just outside the horizon, frozen in time. Your light grows redder, fainter, until you vanish. But to you, time continues. You feel no wall. You pass the horizon without pain, without drama, just forward, just deeper. Inside, the space narrows, distances shrink, direction becomes a soft blur. And at the center, if center even means anything here, waits the singularity, a point of infinite density, no width, no surface, just pure collapse, all the mess, all the gravity, folded into one silent place. And this is where science grows quiet. We don't fully understand what happens at the core. Equations falter, concepts unravel. Some say it's a tear in the fabric of reality. Others believe it hides the seeds of new universes. A doorway, perhaps, not to destruction, but to beginnings. But you don't need to solve it tonight. You only need to feel the strange stillness of it, the hush where questions live. Even here, at the edge of what is knowable, you are safe. Because this is not a place of punishment. It is a place of curiosity. The universe is not angry. It is simply vast. And gravity, when left unchecked, gathers its strength and sings itself inward until only silence remains. And yet, even that silence echoes. Even that dark glows faintly at the edges. Because black holes can spin, they can grow, they can even collide, ringing out ripples in spacetime called gravitational waves, tiny tremors that travel across the cosmos and pass right through you without a sound. They tell us that even the darkest things still speak, still dance, still touch the rest of the universe in soft, invisible ways. So as you lie here, tucked under your blanket, you're not so far from the edge of a black hole. You carry its mystery inside the atoms of your body, some of which were born in stars that died long ago. And now, as you float gently in thought, just above the event horizon, you feel it. Not an ending, but a threshold. Not fear, but quiet wonder. And in that breathless pause, you begin to wonder something more. There is a line, somewhere in space, drawn not with ink or stone, but with gravity's quiet hand. You can't touch it. You can't see it, but it changes everything. It is called the event horizon. You hover near it now, still wrapped in the soft silence of the black hole's shadow, your thoughts echoing like light that will never return. The horizon is not a wall. It does not push back. It simply marks the place where escape becomes impossible. Not because you are caught yet, but because from this line onward, no path leads out again. This is not a metaphor. This is the fabric of reality, folding so tightly that all forward roads point inward. To you, nothing feels different as you drift closer. There's no jolt, no alarm, no warning bell. Just the slow shift of time and space beginning to lean. From the outside, a distant observer watching you fall. would never see you cross this threshold. They would see you slow, your movements stretched thinner and thinner, your image redshifting, fading toward invisibility until you seem to stop altogether, motionless near the edge. But inside your experience, time flows as always. You pass the horizon in quiet, unaware that anything changed. And that is the paradox. To one who watches, you never go in. To one who travels, you already have. The universe begins to break apart when it must hold both stories as true. You float now just inside the event horizon, in a realm where the laws of physics twist gently at the edges. Direction loses meaning. Space stretches toward the center, as if it too is drawn by something it cannot resist. Here, the arrow of time does not just point forward, it points in. No force, no rocket, no dream of escape can push you back across this invisible line. The horizon holds its truth, not by guarding it, but by letting it pass through without return. Still, you are not crushed. Not yet. You drift in the calm before collapse, where ideas still flicker and questions still breathe. And the question that hangs heaviest now is this: where does the information go if something falls into a black hole? A planet, a photon, a poem, a memory, your heartbeat, a library, a dream. Is it gone forever? Or does some trace remain? In physics, information is sacred, not just facts, but the state of things, the arrangement of particles, the melody of motion. The universe does not like to forget, but the event horizon seems to disagree. It is the softest thief, never snatching, just absorbing. It welcomes everything and gives nothing back. If you shine a flashlight toward it, the light will bend, curve, slow, and then vanish. No reflection, no return. If you toss a message, a note in a bottle, coated in light, it too will fade from view. And yet, we wonder, could the horizon hold the memory of what passed through it? Some physicists think it might. That the surface of the black hole, this shimmering invisible skin, stores a record of all it has consumed, as if the horizon is not just a boundary, but a book. Each ripple, each flicker, each shimmer of quantum activity recording a ghost of what was lost. This idea gave rise to the holographic principle, a suggestion that the information of a three-dimensional world might be preserved on a two-dimensional surface, like a shadow remembering its shape, or a song trapped in the grooves of a record. It's a strange hope that maybe nothing is truly forgotten. Even if it cannot return, it is still known, somehow, somewhere, at the edge. And so the event horizon becomes more than a gate. It becomes a whispering library in the dark, each black hole a keeper of unread pages. But the pages are scrambled, encrypted by physics we do not yet understand. We try to listen with detectors and telescopes, with mathematics and metaphors, hoping to hear what the horizon remembers. Some even wonder if the black hole might evaporate, not all at once, but slowly over billions of years. leaking tiny quanta of radiation from the edges. This is Hawking radiation, predicted by Stephen Hawking in the hush between stars. A glow so faint we have yet to measure it. But if it exists, it means black holes are not forever. They shrink bit by bit until they vanish. But what happens to the information then? Does it return with the final whisper? Or is it rewritten into the code of the universe itself? You lie quietly now, these questions circling in your thoughts, like planets orbiting the silence. No answers tonight, only possibilities. Because here, inside the horizon, you are weightless in the unknown. You are surrounded by mystery so dense it bends even imagination. And yet, in that bending, a strange beauty emerges. You are not falling alone. Everything, light, matter, time, memory, meaning, follows the same path. All things lean inward, toward a center they can never quite name. You close your eyes and drift deeper, past the surface of thought, into the soft underside of truth. And in the distance, somewhere far below, something calls. Not a voice, not a sound, but a feeling. The singularity awaits, that impossible point where space collapses into no size at all. But before you reach it, there is one more question to cradle. A star is not eternal. Even the ones that seem forever fixed in your sky carry in their bright breath a secret sorrow, a countdown written in fusion and flame. You lie back, your thoughts adrift in the deep quiet of night, and above you, a star flickers, not with fear, but with inevitability. In the beginning, it was born like so many others, a cloud of dust drawn together by gravity's patient hand, compressed until the atoms inside burn with a light only newborn stars know. For millions, sometimes billions of years, a star balances itself, inward gravity pulling tight, outward pressure from fusion pushing back. Like a breath held steady, it shines in perfect tension. But every flame has fuel, and when the hydrogen dwindles, when the core begins to empty, the balance wavers. The breath exhales. The star begins to change. It expands, a red giant swallowing its own sky. Its outer layers balloon outward, cooling and glowing like embers at the edge of a dying fire. But inside, the core contracts. Heavier elements fuse as the star grows desperate to hold itself together for just a little longer. You feel the slow fall of something enormous, not just in size, but in meaning, as if the universe itself holds its breath, watching one of its own prepare to let go. Then comes the final breath. The iron in the core cannot burn. It does not release energy, it consumes it. And so fusion halts. Without outward pressure, gravity wins. The core collapses. Inward, faster and faster, like a thought too heavy to hold, like a secret pulled tight until it tears open. In less than a second, a massive star's core implodes. Atoms are crushed. Electrons and protons are squeezed into neutrons. The matter becomes so dense that a single teaspoon would weigh more than a mountain. You can almost feel it, the weight of a soul collapsing, the hush of a life no longer able to hold itself up. Thus, in the quiet of cosmic night is the death of a star. But death in the universe is not an end. It is a doorway. Sometimes the collapse rebounds, creating a brilliant supernova, a blast so bright it outshines an entire galaxy for a time. It casts its elements far and wide, seeding space with carbon, calcium, gold, the ingredients of bones, of breath, of everything you are. You are, in truth, born from a dying star. But sometimes the collapse does not stop. It continues inward, beyond neutron matter, past even the tightest squeeze of space. And this is where your journey deepens. Because if the dying star is massive enough, the collapse becomes total. There is no explosion. There is no light. There is only silence. A silence so complete that even light itself cannot escape its grip. This is the birth of a black hole. From the outside, you might see nothing unusual, just a fading star, a flicker gone out. But space remembers. The shape it once had is now bent, pulled, curved into a pit that nothing can climb from. The gravity is so strong, it pulls inward not just matter, but time and space. And all the rules you once thought unbreakable. There is now a point where the star once stood, a shadow place, surrounded by silence, and around it, a horizon forms, a boundary, not of fences or walls, but of no return. You remember the name, the event horizon, the moment past which no message can reach out, no photon, no particle, not even a whisper of what's inside. And yet, you wonder, because even now, this quiet death feels less like an end and more like a secret waiting to be told. The black hole does not scream. It does not burn. It holds. And somehow, in that holding, there is mystery. Your mind drifts into the moment of collapse, where space folds in on itself and time curves toward stillness. You imagine the light, spiraling in, trapped in orbits that never finish. You imagine particles stretched into long, delicate threads as they near the edge, and you wonder, not in fear, but in awe, what lies beyond that curtain. The star that once sang, that once warmed orbiting worlds, is now hidden, not gone, just veiled. You are not falling, but floating near its ghost, listening for what silence might say. Some black holes spin, some carry charge, some seem to dance at the centers of galaxies. But all of them, begin with this simple act, a star's quiet collapse, not violent rage, but surrender. And so, as you lie still in the dark, you carry this knowing in your chest that even in its dying, a star becomes something more. Its atoms feed new worlds. Its core, if heavy enough, creates a place where the laws of physics bend like reeds in wind. It is not an end. It is a new kind of beginning. Your thoughts slow. The weight of the story settles softly in your chest, and you feel a deep hush inside you, as if some part of your own being understands what it means to collapse inward and become something unseen. What began as starlight now rests as gravity's whisper. You lie still, as if the weight of distant gravity has found your chest. Not heavy, just deep, just slow. Out there, where stars once breathed and burned, a black hole waits, not in hunger, but in presence. You drift toward its edge, not falling, not rushing, only nearing, near enough to feel the strange stretch of what we call time. Because here, on this quiet path toward the event horizon, something beautiful breaks. Time begins to bend. You've heard the phrase before, time is relative, but here, so close to the border of a black hole's shadow, you feel it. What is time but the rhythm of change? The ticking of a clock, the turning of a planet, the beating of your heart. Now imagine your heartbeat slows, but not from fear, from gravity, from closeness to something so massive, so dense. It tugs not only on your body, but on the pace of your being. To you, floating gently near the event horizon, a minute still feels like a minute. But if someone were watching you, someone far away, far from the black hole's pull, they would see you move in the syrup of time. They would see your gestures stretch, your voice slow, your story drawn into molasses. This isn't magic. It's gravitational time dilation. The deeper you fall into the black hole's embrace, the slower your time moves compared to the outside world. You blink, and years pass elsewhere. You reach out your hand, and galaxies age. This isn't just an idea. This is real, proven, measured, and deeply strange. Even satellites orbiting Earth need tiny corrections for the difference in time caused by our own gentle gravity. But near a black hole, that difference becomes profound. Imagine you hover just above the event horizon, held steady by thrusters, not yet falling in. An hour goes by, but to the rest of the universe, centuries could pass. Your sister, waiting on a distant planet, would live a full life, watch her children grow, fade into memory, while you remain in the same quiet moment, watching her from across space-time. This isn't sorrow. Not tonight. Tonight, you marvel at how delicate and elastic our reality truly is. You are taught that time is steady, constant, but Einstein whispered a different story, a story where time is woven with space, and the fabric of both can stretch, curve, and spiral around mass, especially when that mass becomes infinite in density as it does inside a black hole. There's a phrase used to describe this distortion: spaghettification. Not poetic, perhaps, but honest. If you cross the event horizon feet first, your feet would feel more pull than your head. The difference would grow until you'd stretch into a thread of atoms, a strand of being, unwound by the uneven hands of gravity. But before that, before the crossing, before the stretch, you would hover at the edge, where time itself begins to pause. Not stop, not end. Just soften, like the last breath before sleep. You imagine yourself there, floating above the horizon, watching the stars shimmer. From this vantage point, they appear to rush away, their light redshifted, stretched into deeper colors as you fall further from their frame. You're not dying. You're drifting into another kind of knowing. Every second you feel is now packed with hours, decades, whole histories outside your reach. The black hole holds you, not in chains, but in rhythm. It offers no sound, but it speaks through time. This slowing, this gravity wrapped moment feels like meditation, as if the cosmos itself wants you to breathe slower, to think longer, to feel deeper. And so you do. Your thoughts wander to clocks on earth, to the metronomes of life, heartbeat, daylight, sunrise, and shadow. All of them move in sync with where they are. And here, on the edge, you learn that time is local, personal, held in your pocket, but shaped by the weight of what surrounds you. Two travelers can live two very different hours, depending on how deep gravity pulls them. It's not an illusion, it's physics. The horizon doesn't resist you, it invites, but it offers no return. Once crossed, there is no going back, no message, no light, no time that loops around again. Still, you don't rush in, you float. There is something almost sacred about the pause. It's here, in this slow tide, that you feel the quiet power of relativity. That what feels fixed can bend. That what seems shared can separate. That time can slow to a whisper without ever breaking. Perhaps you felt this before, not near a black hole, but in a moment of awe, watching a sunset last longer than it should, feeling a goodbye stretch into a stillness, a kiss that folds time into a single heartbeat. This is the gravity of wonder. This is the physics of presence. Time doesn't move at the same pace everywhere. And now you know that not just in theory, but in your bones. Out here, near the horizon, you're a visitor at the edge of reality. But still, a part of you wants to see more. What happens after the edge? What lies beyond the veil of light and time? If nothing escapes, how can we know what's inside? And yet, somehow, the black hole still speaks, not in light, but in other ways, in waves. You are still now, held in gravity's hush, the edge of the black hole, that silent threshold, lingers behind you, like the closing of a door that no longer swings both ways. You've passed it. You've crossed the event horizon, and the fall has no bottom. But strange, isn't it? You don't feel like you're falling. There's no wind, no scream, no sensation of descent, just motion, perfectly smooth, like gliding down an invisible river of space-time toward something that lies at the center of silence. This is not how you imagined it. You thought you would feel panic. You thought time would end. Instead, time is doing something softer, something stranger. Inside the event horizon, all paths curve inward. Not just space, but time itself now flows only one way. Inward, forward, toward the singularity. In the same way your past pulls you closer to your future, The very geometry of here pulls everything toward one inevitable center, not with cruelty, not with violence, but with certainty. You could try to resist, fire your rockets, kick your legs, but resistance is no longer a direction. There is only in. And so you surrender to the fall, not as a victim, but as a listener. The space around you is quiet, but not empty. Particles drift beside you, lightless messengers, ghosts of matter that crossed before you did. And in this deepening silence, you begin to feel the weight of what a singularity truly is. Not a point in space, but a boundary where our understanding slips away, where the math we trust in stars and bridges and orbits and tides begins to break. Because here, density becomes infinite, and spacetime curves so tightly it folds into itself. There is no firm ground beneath your fall, no wall, no floor, no end as your body knows it. Just deeper and deeper still. Imagine, if you will, a funnel without a bottom, a spiral of velvet black that pulls not with force, but with faith. Inside this funnel, every second you feel belongs to the journey inward. No turning back, no sideways step, only the spiral. It's not painful. It's not frightening. Oddly, it feels intimate, as though you've entered the hidden chamber of the universe itself, where the laws you knew bow to something older and maybe truer. Your body begins to stretch, but gently. The gravity changes from toe to head, and over time, your form lengthens, not into pain, into line. You become a thread of matter, drawn long and fine toward the singularity. They call it spaghettification, but you call it becoming part of the curve. You may wonder, is this the end? But no, not yet, because something lingers still in this falling. Thought, perception, the quiet rhythm of your awareness continues. You remember the world you left, the pale blue planet, the warmth of sun, the spinning dance of seasons. You carry it all with you. And now, as you fall without falling, you wonder if black holes might be not just destroyers, but preservers. Could they hold not only mass, but memory? Information? Physicists call it the information paradox, the question of whether everything that enters a black hole is truly lost, or somehow encoded, whispered along the surface, or transformed into something we've yet to name. But for now, that is not your concern. Your concern is the stillness that deepens, the strange quiet of motion with no edge. You pass through lightless storms, clouds of radiation, turbulent jets that once screamed beyond the horizon, but now spiral inward with you. All of them falling forever. There is no ground here, just the knowledge that something waits, not in malice, but in mystery, the singularity, a place so dense and curved that even time has no place to breathe. And still, you do not arrive, because the strange truth is this: in your own time, you will reach it, but in the view of the outside universe, you never quite do. To them, Your final descent takes forever. You are frozen just above the center, a soul paused in space-time, never quite reaching the vanishing point. Your last moment in their frame is stretched across eternity. It's as if the universe is reluctant to let you go. Or maybe time itself refuses to end your story so soon. There's something almost kind about that. You fall, but your fall is never complete. You drift, but your drift becomes legacy. Pattern left in the fabric of space-time, a subtle echo, a ripple in the dark. It may be that the black hole stores the story of you in ways we don't yet grasp, as strings of entropy, as surface vibrations, as unspoken lines on the border of physics. And so your falling becomes a kind of preservation, falling in forever, not ending, transforming. Perhaps this is not oblivion. Perhaps this is entrance. Into what? We do not know. But maybe black holes are not the period at the end of the sentence. Maybe they are the ellipsis, the pause before the next chapter of reality begins. And if so, what does that chapter hold? What if, instead of crushing all, the singularity gives birth to something new? What if the inside isn't an end, but a beginning? A seed, a portal, the whisper of another universe. Entangled in this one, you have crossed it. The threshold, the edge where light gives up and cannot escape. The event horizon is behind you now, silent, unchanging, a one-way veil you floated through without a sound. Inside, there are no landmarks, no constellations, no north, no space as you once knew it. Maps stop here. Physics begins to in octaves that your mind has never heard before. But you are calm, you are here, and your thoughts adapt to the dark. Time, if it still ticks, ticks strangely. In this realm, it stretches thin, like threads drawn across a vast void that used to be the center of a dying star. This star, once radiant, once fusing hydrogen into light, burned all it had to offer. Its own weight crushed it inward, and in the collapse, it made this a wound in the fabric of space-time. Now, you drift through that wound. There is no floor beneath you, no sky above, only inward, always inward. Direction is less of a line and more of a feeling. Down becomes meaningless. What you feel is gradient, not slope, but pull, not a place, but a hunger. You notice, perhaps, that space here does not behave. Distances lose their grip on sense. You stretch, not your body, but your meaning. As you fall, your journey grows longer, but your end draws closer. How strange it is to stretch and fall and vanish all at once. Time inside a black hole is not like outside. From the view of a distant observer, you seem to freeze at the edge, never quite crossing. But you did. You felt it. You passed. And now, you are beyond what they can see. In here, space becomes time, and time becomes a kind of silence. You do not age the way you did. You do not move the way you knew. Instead, you are drawn to the center, always. At the heart of the black hole is a place no theory fully describes, a singularity, a point, they say, with zero volume and infinite density. But perhaps it is not a point at all. Perhaps it is a limit, a place where our math gives up and whispers instead. In the darkness, you feel something more. Not terror, not cold, but strangeness, carried gently on silence. You are inside a mystery, not apart from it. Imagine this place, like a funnel that stretches forever, yet narrows to a thread. You are pulled, not with violence, but certainty, as if this place knows you belong here now. You begin to wonder if this darkness contains echoes, the memory of the star that died, the gravity of everything it once held, compressed into pure curve. A whisper, maybe, left behind in the spin. Yes, spin. Some black holes rotate rapidly, as if the dying star, in its final scream, twirled space-time into a whirlpool. These are called black holes, named by minds trying to understand what no eye can ever see. And if this black hole spins, then inside it, paths loop and slide and curl in ways that escape description. It is not just a fall, it is a dance, a strange, spiraling motion through invisible currents. In such a place, some physicists say, you might avoid the singularity, not forever, but for a while. A delay, a corridor, a deeper journey before the end. Perhaps, inside the spin, there are shapes we do not yet know, regions of spacetime that bend back into themselves, like the roots of a tree circling underground. What would it mean to take a path like that? To go not just inward, but around and around again? Would you find something new? Or only yourself, reflected in gravity's dream? You feel now that light no longer guides you. There are no stars to steer by, only the rhythm of curvature and pull. Still, you move with purpose. You do not resist. In this quiet descent, you realize you are witnessing laws as they stretch past their edge. Einstein's equations still hum, but they flicker at the core. Relativity brought us here, but even it must bow to the singular, and so must you. But do not be afraid. You are not falling into chaos. You are falling into structure, a structure too deep to fully know. Somewhere behind you, outside, the universe continues. Galaxies spin, planets orbit, children sleep, and here you drift through a secret they will never touch. Not because you are lost, but because you are deep, deeper than light, deeper than meaning, a place where questions dissolve, and all that remains is the curve. And in that curve, a quiet idea stirs. What if the center isn't an end, but a beginning? What if inside this black hole there is a door? They call it the white hole, the opposite, the mirror, the explosion instead of collapse. A place not where things fall in, but where they are pushed out. No one has ever seen one, but equations whisper, and so do you. As you drift toward what they call singularity, the thought grows louder, not in sound, but in shape. Could the end of your fall be the birth of something else? And if so, where might you emerge? What kind of universe waits on the other side of this darkness? You are still falling, but not through distance as you once understood it. Not downward, not outward, but through meaning itself. Collapse of coordinates and clocks. Everything leads here, not because this is the center of a place, but because this is the end of direction. This is the singularity, the heart of the black hole, the place where space folds too sharply and time curves in until it pierces itself. Here, gravity doesn't pull. It devours, not hungrily, but completely. It takes shape, then takes shape away. It is not evil. It is pure geometry, laid bare. Imagine standing at the shore of an ocean so vast you can't see the horizon, and suddenly learning that the ocean was only a skin on a deeper abyss beneath. That's what it feels like. This isn't the ocean. It's beneath the ocean, where physics, once graceful and sure, now trembles. You reach a point where equations start to fight themselves, where infinities rise, not just large numbers, but impossibilities. A place where the curve becomes too sharp for space-time to bear. And yet, you are here, present, whole, and watching. What does a singularity look like? No one knows. It may be a point. It may not be. It may not look at all. The rules that tell light how to behave have broken. You could shine a beam, but it would loop and spiral, never returning. You could reach for a moment, but it would dissolve in your fingers. Yet here you are, and there it is, the singular heart of a dead star, ticking in some invisible way, like a secret drumbeat. There's no place else to go, but still the mystery deepens. Some say this is where physics ends, where general relativity, Einstein's mighty spell, cracks, not because it was wrong, but because it was incomplete. Others say this is where quantum mechanics should take over, but it doesn't. Not yet. The quantum world, that world of particles and uncertainty, of probabilistic ripples, has not yet made peace with gravity. The two great theories remain unwed. And here at the singularity, their separation is unbearable. This is the reason black holes matter, not because they swallow stars, but because they swallow our knowledge. And so we ask, what lies at the singular heart? Is it a beginning? Is it for another universe? Could the singularity explode outward somewhere else? A white hole, spraying stars in another cosmos? Could our Big Bang have been born from a singularity just like this one? We don't know. But equations, when pushed, sometimes whisper, yes, that a black hole here might become a Big Bang. That one collapsing star might birth 1,000 galaxies in another fabric of spacetime, pinched off from ours like a growing bubble. In this way, the singularity becomes more than an end. It becomes a pulse, the core of a breathing multiverse. You are still drifting, still near it, and you can almost sense not a place, but a principle. The singularity is not in the black hole. The black hole is the singularity, curved outward like a shell, a boundary around this impossible truth. The more you look inward, the less you see. But the more you understand, this is not where the story dies. This is where it's rewritten. Here, in the singular heart, matter becomes idea. Curvature becomes collapse. Information, perhaps, becomes compressed beyond recognition. But that raises a question. What happens to information? If you fall into a black hole, do your particles, your thoughts, your identity simply vanish? Physics once said yes. Hawking's early work suggested black holes evaporate over time through faint Hawking radiation, and in doing so, destroy information. But nature abhors destruction, especially of information. And now, many physicists believe that the universe must somehow remember that even in this ultimate collapse, your pattern, your signal, cannot be truly lost. Where is it stored? Some say on the event horizon, like a hologram etched in gravitational code. Others suggest it's smeared through the radiation as the black hole slowly fades. But here, deep inside, none of those paths seem visible. Only the singular heart pulses, not violently, but patiently, like a truth waiting for the right language to be spoken. And maybe that language hasn't been invented yet. You're not the first mind to peer into this depth. Einstein, Penrose, Hawking, they all imagined this core. They ran numbers, traced curves, wrote equations on blackboards, as black as the thing itself. But even they reached limits. Even genius finds silence at the edge of the singular. And perhaps that's the point. The singularity is not just a place of endings. It is a mirror, reflecting the limits of what we know and inviting us to wander beyond. You float now, gently, not torn, not scattered. You are still whole, but transformed. More question than form, more motion than place. And as you hover in the singular heart's gravity, you feel a strange peace, as if everything here, though alien, still belongs. Even you. You do not crash. You do not burn. You dissolve only in metaphor. The journey continues, always. And ahead, in the soft spiral of thought, comes a new question. If this singularity connects to somewhere else, where does it lead? And if something can come out, what would that look like? You return to the quiet edge, where light once fell inward, where time once twisted and never looked back. Now, the black hole no longer pulls. It whispers instead. You sit with it, like you would beside an old campfire after the flames have died. Warmth still hums, but the heat is memory now, the lingering breath of something that once burned too bright. The black hole, so proud in its darkness, does not last forever. You've been told that before, but now you see it, slowly fading. Process so gentle that the stars barely notice. And yet, bit by bit, it disappears. Not with a bang, not with a scream, but with something quieter. Hawking radiation. Particles born of nothing, at the edge of everything. They arrive in pairs, little twins in a game of cosmic coin toss. One falls in, one escapes, and with that tiny imbalance, something is lost or gained, depending on how you watch. One particle flies free, carrying away a whisper of mass, a breath of heat, a clue to the black hole's nature. And the black hole shrinks, slowly, achingly, for longer than galaxies will live. But eventually, perhaps after the last star has faded, it is gone. All that was once hidden has flowed back outward, in bits of light and breathless particles no one has yet learned to hear. But you wonder, as the shadow thins, what of the stories? What of the astronaut who fell with her arms outstretched? What of the symphony of matter, the library of atoms, the dreams that vanished in a fall no one could stop? Was it all erased? In our laws of physics, there is a sacred promise. Information cannot be destroyed. That is not poetry. It is rule, the deepest grammar of nature. To break it would be to unwrite reality. So what happens when something falls into a black hole? Something rich with detail, an apple, a planet, a child's laugh? If the black hole disappears, does that information disappear too? This is the black hole information paradox, a riddle so haunting, so vital, that even the most brilliant minds still wrestle with its weight. Imagine burning a letter. You watch it curl. You smell the smoke. Its words are gone to you, but not to the universe. In principle, the atoms and energy still hold the trace of what was written. Could a black hole do the same? Could Hawking radiation, those faint, escaping flickers, carry information subtly encoded like ink bleeding into rain? Some believe it can. They say the radiation is not random, but patterned, complex, beyond reckoning, yet precise. Every particle carrying a ciphered imprint of what fell in, like an echo of a symphony transformed into wind. Others whisper of a deeper truth, a skin of memory wrapped around the edge. This is the holographic principle. It says, all the information of a three-dimensional world might live on a two-dimensional surface. So perhaps everything that enters the black hole is written onto its horizon, stored like a cosmic ledger at the very edge of no return. A black hole, then, might be a kind of projection, a vault, a book sealed shut, but never truly burned. You close your eyes and feel the weight of that idea. It means nothing is lost. Not really. It means that even if your body were stretched across space-time and your atoms rearranged, some echo of you, your pattern, your path, would persist, stored, however faintly, in the light that escapes, preserved, however cryptically, in the language of radiation. And so, the death of a black hole is not the end of forgetting. It may be the slow retelling of everything it once consumed. Bit by bit, the black hole gives back its secrets. But now you wonder, could anyone ever read them? Could the information be decoded, retraced, rewound? We don't yet know. The story is unfinished. But the math says this: if information survives, then somewhere, however scattered, you survive too. Not in body, not in breath, but in imprint, in the choreography of your atoms, in the entropy of the space you once touched. Even a whisper leaves ripples. Even ashes hold story. And even black holes, those mighty devourers of light, may be messengers in the end. They do not destroy the past. They conceal it, distort it. But one day, perhaps, they let it return. You open your eyes to the cooling dark. The black hole is gone now. A memory in the starlight, a glow in the faintest wave. All that remains are the ripples, the pattern, the quiet suggestion that nothing ever really disappears, that there is no such thing as true silence. Not here, not in the universe. So careful to remember. And now your thoughts drift onward to what comes next. If black holes can give back what they take, then what of the universes they might connect to? What if information flows not just out, but through to somewhere else, somewhere deeper, another space, another beginning? And so you follow the trail, not of radiation, but of idea, and you ask with soft wonder, what lies beyond the veil of this dying light? Could it be another universe waiting to be born? You return to the edge of the unknowable fire, not a fire of flame, but a fire of thought. It doesn't crackle or smoke, but it burns all the same, in minds, in equations, in quiet midnight wondering. There, in the long shadow of the cosmos, you find the flicker of a question that refuses to die. It was Stephen who lit this flame, not with hands, but with a mind that soared, even when the body would not. A man, still as stone, with a voice pressed through circuits, whispered something that broke the sky. He said, black holes can evaporate, not instantly, not loudly, but slowly, softly, like breath fading into winter. This was not supposed to happen. Black holes were thought eternal, cosmic tombs, one-way gates. They swallowed and sealed, but never gave back. But Hawking saw something else. He imagined the edge of the black hole, the event horizon, not as a hard shell, but as a quantum dance floor, particles popping in and out of the vacuum, paired like twins, born and torn apart in an instant. One falls in, the other escapes. What slips away is called Hawking radiation, a shimmer of energy, where nothing should escape. And with that leak of light, the black hole begins to shrink. Over eons, it fades. But then came the terrible question. What about the things it swallows? The books, the stars, the memories, the fingerprints of reality? When a black hole dies, where does all of that go? Is it erased? Does the universe forget? If so, then everything we thought we knew about physics fractures, because physics has a rule carved deep into its bones. Information cannot be destroyed. You can burn a letter, but the ashes, the molecules, the shape of the smoke, they still carry the whisper of what it was. You can't unknow what was once true. You can only change how it's arranged. But Stephen's black hole threatened this law. If Hawking radiation carries no imprint of what fell in, then the information is gone, not scrambled, not hidden, but erased. And that That would be the ultimate betrayal of nature's memory. It became known as the black hole information paradox, and it shook physics to its quiet core. What happens when logic and light no longer agree? Some believed Stephen was wrong. Others thought the law must bend. Some imagined hidden realms inside the hole, where the secrets huddled safely. Others whispered that maybe the radiation does remember, but in ways too subtle to say. They studied the math. They wrote papers like prayers. They gathered at blackboard altars, arguing softly with the void. Years passed, and then Stephen returned, older, wiser, still curious, and he made a new proposal, one filled with grace. Maybe the information isn't stored inside the black hole at all. Maybe it's written on the event horizon, the boundary itself. He called it soft hair, not actual hair, but a metaphor. Tiny quantum features on the surface of the black hole, whispers in the skin of the void. Each piece of soft hair might encode a piece of the past, a particle, a field, a story. So even as the black hole fades, those hairs release the memory, not lost, just unraveled. It was a stunning idea that the edge itself remembers, that the horizon is not a silence, but a library. It echoed another strange idea, the holographic principle, a theory that says everything inside a volume of space can be described by what's on its boundary, like a 3D object projected from a 2D film. Perhaps black holes follow this too. Perhaps the universe doesn't store its secrets deep within, but prints them gently on its surface. And you too, are a part of this strange remembering. Because if information is never destroyed, then every moment of you is etched somewhere. Your smile, your thoughts, your questions, the warmth of your hand in the sun. If a black hole swallowed you, Stephen's paradox asks, would you be forgotten? Or would some echo of you still hum in the Hawking light? The paradox remains unresolved, not because we are lost, but because we are still looking. Physicists now use string theory, quantum gravity, entanglement entropy, mathematical symphonies to describe how black holes might whisper instead of scream. Some suggest that what falls in becomes encoded in a quantum entanglement with the radiation outside, that each escaping particle tells part of the tale, that over time, the black hole breathes out a complete story, and others say maybe space and time themselves are made of information, not the stage, but the cast, not emptiness, but fabric woven of knowledge. If so, then a black hole is not a place, but a rewriting, each chapter folded in shadow. And when it ends, the page turns, but the ink is never lost. Stephen's paradox remains, not as a flaw, but as a lighthouse. A paradox is where two truths meet and spark. It's not confusion, it's growth. And Stephen gave us this fire, not to burn us, but to illuminate the edge of knowing. He did not fear paradox, he lived inside it. A man whose body fell inward, but whose mind radiated outward. His voice, though synthesized, spoke deeper than thunder. He showed us that black holes can teach not just about death, but about meaning, about memory, about what lasts. And so now, as the paradox smolders on, you watch the horizon with new eyes. You no longer see only darkness. You see a promise that nothing truly beautiful is ever lost. Not in fire, not in silence, not even in a black hole. And still, another question rises. If a black hole remembers what it swallowed, can it remember who watched it? Do observers leave their own mark on the edge of forgetting? And if so, could you already be part of the horizon's memory? There is a strange quiet after paradox, like a deep breath the cosmos hasn't taken yet. You sit beneath the stars, but tonight they feel thinner, as if behind a veil. Not less real, less solid. You reach your hand upward, and for a moment, you wonder, is this sky a shadow? Is this space a kind of dream? And then the whisper begins, soft, slender, mathematical. It comes not from the stars, but from their skin, from the boundary where presence meets disappearance. The holographic whisper. It began with black holes, but it didn't end there. Physicists watched Hawking radiation escape and wondered, if the information isn't lost, but stored on the event horizon, then maybe everything inside is actually described on the outside, not hidden deep, but written wide. It's a staggering idea that the volume of a thing, the depth, the richness, could be an illusion, that reality might be a projection, and not just black holes. Everything. Galaxies. Rooms. You. Let's go slowly now. Imagine a campfire, casting shadows on a tent wall. You see shapes dancing, figures laughing, stories playing out in 2 dimensions. But behind the sheet, in 3 dimensions, the real people move. That's how you thought the world worked. 2-dimensional surfaces, projecting from a deeper, fuller truth. But what if it's the other way around? What if your 3-dimensional world is the shadow? What if everything you are, your body, your thoughts, the curl of time itself, is written, encoded on a distant edge? A cosmic film, projecting you inward. This is the holographic principle, born in the minds of thinkers who refused to believe that nature forgets. Susskind, Hooft, Maldacena, each adding a brushstroke to the canvas of unreality. They notice something strange about black holes, the amount of information they can hold. Their entropy doesn't scale with their volume, but with their surface area. That is, how much information is in a black hole depends not on how big it is inside, but how large its outer skin. Not what it contains, but what it wears. As if the black hole is a book written entirely on its cover, and the pages, an illusion. So they asked, if this is true for black holes, why not the universe? Why not space itself? Imagine the edge of the cosmos, sphere, vast and cold. Now imagine that every quark, every heartbeat, every ripple of time is encoded there, not inside, not here, but there. And what you feel as death as reality, as you, is the 3D projection of that surface, like a hologram lit by the fire of quantum rules. You do not fall through space. You emerge from its boundary. This isn't fantasy. It's math. It's theory. It's serious. And it is utterly beautiful. It means that you are connected to the edge of everything, that your existence is tied to a surface you will never touch. And yet, you are it. And if information is stored on that edge, then perhaps time is too. Maybe the past has not vanished, just stepped to the border. Maybe your childhood laughter still glows like ink on the fabric of the cosmic horizon. And perhaps your future is already written there, waiting to be projected. But this theory does more than dazzle. It solves. It rescues physics from the cliff where paradox threatened to throw it. It reconciles gravity with quantum mechanics, two giants who, for decades, refused to shake hands. Because in a holographic world, space is not fundamental. It's emergent. It comes from information. It rises from entanglement. It forms when meaning crystallizes. So perhaps the universe is not a stage, but a script. Not a place, but a process. You, then, are not in space. You are part of space, becoming aware of itself. You are the whisper inside the whisper. You are the hologram, dreaming its own image. This idea doesn't make you smaller. It makes you stranger. It means that reality is not what it seems, but something deeper, written on surfaces you cannot see, but which speak you into being. There's poetry in this, that the void isn't empty, but full of code, full of patterns, full of you. And perhaps when a black hole fades, when it gives its final sigh, what's left is not silence, but inscription, the echo of all it knew, carved not inside, but across its skin, not vanished, but transcribed. Maybe death is not erasure, just compression, and life, an unfolding of boundary truths. There are physicists now who speak of spacetime not as a thing, but as a consequence of entangled information. They build models where gravity itself emerges from connections between bits of quantum truth on the horizon. They dream of decoding the full dictionary, the map between the edge and the world it projects. If they succeed, they will not just understand black holes. They will understand everything, including you. And still, as you lie here, quiet beneath the sky, you wonder, if I'm a projection, from where do I shine? Who does the projecting? What is the light that casts this shadow? Called me? And could it be that consciousness is also a kind of hologram? There is a quiet that hums between the stars, a stillness that doesn't feel empty, but expectant, as if the darkness is listening, as if space remembers. You rest in that stillness now, your body soft, your breathing slow. Above you, the cosmos leans in to tell you something strange, something wonderful. Imagine, for a moment, that everything distant might still be close, not by miles, but by meaning, not by force, but by memory. In the language of quantum physics, there is a word for this impossible nearness: entanglement. Not a feeling, but a physical truth. Two particles, born together in the same breath of energy, can become so deeply connected that even when torn apart by light years, they remain one. Not metaphorically, literally, truly, quietly. If you touch one, you change the other. If you measure one, you learn something about its twin. Not seconds later, not with delay, instantly. It's as if space, that vast ocean between stars, doesn't really separate them. As if distance is an illusion we simply haven't outgrown. Einstein called it spooky action at a distance, because even he, the architect of relativity, couldn't bear the oddness of it. How could something so small, so brazenly defy the limits of space and time? And yet, again and again, the experiments whispered, yes, this is real. The universe, it seems, is threaded with secret bonds. No wire, no signal, just an echo across the void, faster than light, but not breaking any rule, because no information travels. Only correlation, only connection. You lie there, thinking of these particles, entangled photons, spinning in perfect harmony, even galaxies apart, like dancers who once moved together and somehow still remember the music. The bond is not like gravity, which pulls. It is not like magnetism, which tugs. It is a quiet awareness between particles that were once one. It's almost too gentle to believe, but it's there, proven, tested, again and again. Physicists split pairs of photons, sending one across a lab, the other across a mountain. What happens to one is known by the other instantly. They do not speak. They simply are. They simply know. And if that seems mystical, it's not. It's math. It's the deep machinery beneath the surface of things, where particles don't decide, but probabilities do. You begin to wonder what else might be entangled. Could your thoughts, your feelings, your laughter from childhood, could they echo through some unseen link? Could atoms in your body still hum with the starlight from which they came? Could the particles in your hand be quietly entwined with a comet's heart a billion miles away? In some strange sense, yes, because you, too, are made of such particles, born in fires older than Earth, shaped in the breath of time. Every part of you once shared a cradle with something else. And though those bonds are not like the photons' dance, not measured in labs, the memory of origin lives in all matter. The universe is not a collection of separate things. It is a poem written in connections. Entanglement tells us that separateness is not as solid as it seems, that even the void between stars may be braided with threads of unity. It is not communication, but resonance, not a voice, but a mirror held at the edge of what we can see. In laboratories now, entanglement is not just a marvel, it is a tool. Scientists trap ions, link them, store information in their interwoven states. Quantum computers, in their infancy, already whisper with power drawn from entangled qubits, machines that may someday think not in steps, but in waves of possibility. And far across the globe, others dream of quantum cryptography, messages so secure they dissolve when touched, made safe by entanglement itself. The fabric of the future, it seems, is laced with this invisible thread. But even so, the mystery remains. No one quite knows how the universe maintains such perfect coordination. No one can fully explain how a particle here can reflect one beyond the galaxy. We can use it, we can measure it, but we cannot truly understand it. And that, too, is a kind of beauty, because not everything must be solved to be sacred. Not every answer needs to be found to change you. Tonight, you lie in your room, but your mind drifts outward, past the ceiling, past the clouds, past even time. You imagine two particles, a pair born in the same flash, now caught in the grip of a black hole's edge, one falling inward, the other flung free. What happens next? What survives? If one is lost to darkness, does its twin still remember? Does the bond still hum beneath the surface of the universe? You feel that question settle softly in you, like snow on still water, because next comes a deeper mystery. If particles are entangled, what about information itself? What happens to it when it's pulled into the mouth of a black hole? Can the universe truly forget? Or does it whisper back? You are floating now in a hush so deep it feels eternal. The stars have faded from view, and even the gentle hum of time has softened into something quieter than silence. This is not the silence of absence, but the silence of awe, as if the cosmos itself is holding its breath. Before you, spanning the sky like a dark wound stitched into space-time, is the quiet mouth of the universe. A black hole, its edge invisible, its presence undeniable, a shadow not of darkness, but of mystery, the place where questions fall in and answers do not come out. You followed its pull for chapters now, fallen with light, danced with time, spiraled toward this singular end, and now you're here. But this is not the end. This is the beginning of another kind of knowing, because what makes a black hole is not its darkness, but its hunger, a gravitational thirst, so powerful, so absolute, that even light, the fastest traveler we know, cannot escape once it crosses the line. We call this invisible boundary the event horizon, not a place, but a point of no return. Beyond it, the laws we understand begin to blur. Space stretches, time curls, the familiar shapes of cause and effect begin to dissolve. But still, one question clings to the edge of every physicist's dream. What happens to information that falls in? Not just matter, not just mass, but information, the blueprint of atoms, the fingerprint of particles, the subtle arrangements that describe a thing down to its quantum essence. If you throw a book into a fire, its pages are gone, but not its information. In principle, the smoke, the ash, the warmth in the air. It all holds clues. Nothing truly disappears, just transforms. But a black hole? It doesn't give even that. It swallows and stays silent. For decades, this silence posed a paradox. Stephen Hawking was the first to hear its whisper. He showed us that black holes aren't completely black. They radiate very faintly from the quantum shimmer at their edge. Slow leaking, now called Hawking radiation. But that radiation is random. It carries no memory of what fell in, no identity, no name, just heat. If a black hole evaporates this way, bleeding away over eons, then eventually it vanishes. Gone. And the information it held? Also gone. This is a problem, because physics, our most trusted guide, tells us that information cannot be destroyed. It can be hidden. It can be scrambled. It can become so tangled that it's unreadable. But it must exist somewhere, in some form. So when Hawking's discovery seemed to suggest that black holes delete what they consume, it shook the pillars of science itself. Two laws were at war. One says nothing escapes. The other says nothing is lost. And the universe? It offered no easy answer. For years, scientists circled the paradox like pilgrims before a sacred flame. They tried to imagine solutions. Maybe the information stays inside forever. Maybe it seeps out in code so complex we just can't see it. Or maybe the very idea of inside is wrong. And that is where the whisper changes. In the 1990s, a bold new thought emerged, not from telescopes, but from the chalkboards of theorists. What if, they asked, everything that happens inside a black hole is somehow written on its surface, not buried deep, but spread thin on the event horizon, as if the edge itself is a kind of cosmic scroll, recording every fall, every collision, every scream of matter as it crosses the point of no return. This became known as the holographic principle. Imagine a three-dimensional room, but all the information about what's inside it is encoded on its two-dimensional walls. That's what a hologram is, a flat surface that contains depth. And maybe the universe works the same way. Maybe what we see as space and depth is really just a projection of information written on a boundary. If that's true, then the black hole does not destroy, it transcribes. It records the essence of everything it swallows onto its skin. Nothing is lost, just transformed into a language we do not yet speak. Even more astonishing, this idea doesn't stop with black holes. Some physicists began to ask, what if the entire universe is a hologram? What if the cosmos we touch and breathe and live inside is a deeper projection of information etched on a far-off boundary we cannot see? It sounds wild, but it fits. It honors quantum laws. It preserves information, and it hints that reality itself may be woven from something more subtle than matter and force, something quieter, something deeper. As you lie here in the hush of thought, you begin to feel the beauty of that idea, that everything you are, your memories, your feelings, your dreams, is not lost in the vastness. That somewhere, in the quiet mouth of the universe, your story is still written, not in letters, not in voice, but in the structure of reality itself, a whisper on the edge of being, a soft signature at the border of space and time. And though we do not yet know how to read it, though our science is still young, we are beginning to listen differently, to ask better questions, to trust that the universe remembers. And now, another thought drifts in, like mist over a calm lake. If the edges of black holes store everything that falls in, then perhaps they're not so different from the edge of the universe itself. What lies beyond that edge? What dreams might a black hole hold in its final breath? What does it mean for a star's collapse to become a kind of memory? And in that memory, in that final silence, might something new begin to form? You drift now on the slow breath of deep space, where even gravity has grown hushed, its voice a long, low tone curving through the cosmos. All around you, darkness folds in infinite loops, but at the center of it all, something moves, not stillness, not silence, but spin, a black hole, no longer just a mouth devouring light, but a dancer, a spinning storm, wrapped in rings of fire. This is no ordinary darkness. This is a curved black hole, named for the man who imagined what would happen if the singularity could turn. And turn it does so fast that space-time itself begins to twist. You float near the edge, where the horizon is no longer a perfect sphere, but a warped ellipse, stretching with the curve of its rotation. The faster the spin, the tighter the coils. And near this black hole, there is no standing still. You cannot hover. You cannot resist. Because here, space-time doesn't just bend, it drags. Physicists call it frame dragging, but to you, it feels like being caught in the folds of a whirlpool, spinning even if you try to stay still. The very fabric of reality has become a current. Imagine space as a thick syrup, and the black hole as a spoon, stirring it endlessly. Everything caught nearby, light, matter, time, is drawn into the swirl. And if you look closely, you'll see it, just outside the event horizon, a blazing ring of fire. This is the accretion disk, a halo of doomed matter circling the abyss. It burns not with flames, but with friction. Atoms crash into each other, speeding close to light, heating until they glow, a light born, not of stars, but of surrender. The closer matter gets, the faster it spins. In its final orbits, it becomes a blur of energy. This is not destruction. This is transformation. And yet, in the heart of this chaos, you feel something eerily ordered. A rhythm, a pattern. Because not all light is lost. Some photons, blessed by direction, slingshot around the black hole, again and again, caught in orbits of light. Some escape, most do not. But those that flee carry secrets. It's from them that we build images. It's from them that we first glimpse the unseeable. In 2019, a ring of fire was revealed, the first image of a black hole's shadow. Not the hole itself, but its outline, its ghost. The light took eons to reach us. It curved, looped, twisted around the hole, until finally it found Earth. And through delicate hands and clever minds, that light became a portrait, a burning ring, shadowed center. Proof that what we imagined was real. You float in awe beneath that same glow, watching as space swirls like a storm in slow motion. The black hole's spin does more than make the disk dance. It changes what's possible. If you were to fall in from the right direction, you might not be swallowed immediately. You might orbit for a while. You might even dive into the spinning hole and emerge, according to equations, somewhere else. This is the strange whisper of wormholes. The math suggests that if a black hole spins fast enough, its core might not crush into a singularity. Instead, it might tunnel. It might connect. To where? No one knows. Another universe? Another point in time? The doorway remains imagined, unconfirmed. But the idea shimmers like starlight on water. What if black holes aren't just ends, but bridges? What if death in one world is a beginning in another? The thought lingers, soft as a sigh. But even without wormholes, the spin matters. It tells us something about the star that collapsed, about the angular momentum carried through death. Because when a star dies, it doesn't just vanish. It leaves behind a kind of memory in its rotation. And the faster the black hole spins, the more extreme its effects. Time slows more sharply. Light bends more dramatically. And the rules we know begin to shimmer like heat on a horizon. You begin to wonder, in this spinning geometry, is the center even still a point? Maybe not. Some theories say it becomes a ring, a singular loop of infinite density, a circle, not a dot. And if that's true, then at the very center of the black hole is not a dead end, but an opening, a path. You won't find answers here. Not yet. But the questions are beautiful. The spin, the fire, the dragging of time. It all feels like a slow cosmic waltz. And around you, matter keeps falling. Disks keep glowing. Light keeps trying to flee. And we, from a distant Earth, keep watching. We build telescopes to chase whispers. We write equations to chase truth. We tell stories to chase wonder. The black hole spins on, and you, tiny witness, dreaming voyager, are part of its story too. Your atoms, your thoughts, your breath, they are written in the same language as this fire. Space-time bends for you as it does for stars. You are not separate from the cosmos. You are folded into its dance. You drift now past the burning ring, past the dragging air, toward a calmer space. Behind you, the storm recedes. Ahead of you, a quiet unfolds. And in that quiet, a question remains. If black holes spin and glow and leave behind shadows on the sky, what happens when they begin to die? What song does a black hole sing at the end of its long, dark life? And in that fading note, what truth might we finally hear? You float now, where the dark feels different, not heavy, but thin, as though the fabric of the universe is wearing at the seams. Behind you, the spinning black hole fades, its burning rings, just a memory. Before you, something stranger, a quiet place, but not empty. The stars here blink more slowly. The laws here lean just slightly in the direction of wonder. This is where questions turn sideways. This is where the universe might fold. Imagine space, not as a vast canvas, but as a soft sheet, a surface that bends, curves, even tears. Now imagine two distant stars on opposite ends of the sheet. If you fold the sheet, those stars touch. The distance vanishes. The in-between dissolves. This is the dream of the wormhole, a tunnel through the folds of space-time, a bridge from one point in the cosmos to another without crossing the space between. You've seen them in science fiction, glowing doors, spinning open in space, ships slipping through, heroes stepping across light years in moments. But this idea, it was born not from fantasy, but from the equations of Einstein. In 1935, Einstein and Nathan Rosen imagined what we now call the Einstein-Rosen bridge, a wormhole, a shortcut between two black holes, a tunnel connecting two universes, or perhaps two moments in time. The math worked, mostly. But like many dreams, the bridge was unstable. It collapsed as soon as anything tried to pass through. Still, the idea stayed, like a whisper hidden in the back of physics. Could a wormhole be held open? Could something stronger than gravity keep it from falling in on itself? Maybe. In the 1980s, physicist Kip Thorne explored this deeply. He and his colleagues proposed that wormholes could be stabilized not with ordinary matter, but with something strange, something called negative energy. It's real, in theory, a kind of energy that repels instead of attracts, the opposite of gravity. Hard to create, harder to contain, but not impossible. And so, the doorway, just barely, remains open in our minds. You drift closer now to the place where one might be. You can't see it, but you feel something subtle, a tug, then a softness, as though space is folding inward. It's not a hole, not a gate. It's a curve, a strange geometry where distance loses meaning. Somewhere here, two mouths face each other, light years apart, yet touching. If you were to step in, you might emerge on the other side of the galaxy, or in a distant past, or in a future no one's yet imagined. No need to ride a beam of light. No need to wait for a billion years. Just a single step through the right kind of door. But there are warnings. The wormhole, if it exists, is narrow, delicate, sensitive to the tiniest disturbance. Pass through too fast, and it could collapse. Too slow, and it might never open. And there's another catch. Time behaves differently near such curves. Step in at one moment, emerge in another. Even your own past might be reachable. And here we brush against paradox. If you go back and change something, do you erase yourself? Do you create another universe? Or does the universe protect itself, twisting events to keep cause from unraveling effect? We don't know. But the idea lingers like a wish on a star you're not sure is still shining. And maybe that's what wormholes really are. Wishes. Mathematical prayers etched into space-time. A hope that the universe is more connected than it appears. That distance is not as final as it seems. That time is not a wall, but a weave. And sometimes wishes leave trails. In 2013, a curious idea bloomed, or equal EPR. Einstein-Rosen bridges, wormholes, and Einstein-Podolsky-Rosen pairs. Entangled particles might be two faces of the same truth. What if every pair of entangled particles is connected by a tiny wormhole? What if entanglement is not just spooky action, but structure? The bridge between black holes and the thread between photons could be one and the same. You think back to earlier chapters, to entangled hearts, to quantum whispers, and now you wonder, were those particles already building roads between distant corners of the cosmos? Are wormholes not exotic inventions, but the natural veins of reality? You float in silence. Somewhere, a black hole spins. Somewhere else, a particle changes because its twin feels a gaze. And in between them, maybe, is a tunnel, a bridge of thought, a corridor made of math and meaning. Would you walk it? Would you step inside the throat of a mystery, knowing you may not return the same? That's the thing about wormholes. They are more than shortcuts. They are choices. To leap before understanding, to trust what isn't visible, to follow a curvature you can't quite trace, and maybe, just maybe, to find yourself on the far side of fear. You float still. You don't enter. You only imagine, because the wormhole is still a question. It may be a yearning in the shape of a circle, but the universe has heard our wish, and in quiet corners, it stirs. Physicists build equations like architects. Telescopes stare into the quiet. Dreamers whisper to the stars. And one day, perhaps, the wish will answer. A ring will glow. A tunnel will open. A voyager will step through. And time, the old river, will ripple. And we will understand that space was never really space at all. It was only the veil between this moment and the next. And when that veil thins, what else might we see? What lies on the far end of the thread that binds us to everything? You've come far now, through the storm and the spin, past the singular pull of a dying star's breath. You've hovered where time slows to a sigh. You've imagined the fall, forever inward, and peeked through the throat of a wormhole's whisper. But in the end, what we understand of black holes, of bending space, of vanishing light, is built not from light at all, but from shadows. Yes, shadows we've seen, traces, footprints, tremors in the dark, because black holes, for all their might, are masters of hiding. They swallow sight and seal it shut. No beam escapes, no image survives, and yet we know they're there. How? Not by what they show, but by what they steal. A star orbits something that isn't there. It spins too fast, too close, to be circling nothing. That something, dark and massive, pulls with quiet certainty, like a ghost grabbing a sleeve, like a thought that can't be unthought. And we saw it first in motion before we ever captured its face. We saw it in starlight, bending wrong, in X-rays, flaring from edges, in galaxies with missing centers. The shadows whispered, something is eating the light. And then, in 2019, we turned a planet into an eye, telescope, not made of glass, but of coordination. 8 observatories across the Earth, linked by precision, and time itself. The Event Horizon Telescope, its mission, to image the edge of unseeable things, to capture the silhouette of a monster. And so it did. The first image was a ring, blurry, gold, soft at the edges, but unmistakable. Shadow. A hole. The absence of light where space-time caves and nothing returns. That shadow belonged to a black hole at the heart of Messier 87, a galaxy far away, its core devoured by a beast billions of solar masses wide. It was not a photo in the ordinary sense. It was a reconstruction, data stitched with patience, math sculpting the silence. But it was real, a cosmic silhouette, the void outlined by fire. We'd seen the unseeable. We'd framed the absence. And from that absence, 1,000 truths began to flow. We saw motion in stillness. We saw how photons skirted the rim like daredevils on the edge of forever. We saw the shape of Einstein's dreams etched in real space. And years later, we saw it again, this time closer to home. Sagittarius A, the black hole at the center of our own Milky Way. Smaller, more chaotic, its light dancing wildly, but still the same ring. A twin to the distant one, shared face of gravity's deepest pull. And so, with each shadow, we understood more. Black holes were no longer mysteries whispered in the margins. They were players in the great stage of cosmos, engines of galaxies, sculptors of time. And yet, they remained so deeply strange, because that ring, that shadow, is just the beginning. What lies beyond it still eludes us. The singularity, the point where gravity consumes all logic, where space becomes infinitely curved, where time may cease. No math survives it, not yet. Our laws bend, then snap. But even without seeing in, we've learned from the echoes, from the ripples in space-time. In 2015, a whisper reached Earth. Tremor, not in the ground, but in the fabric of existence itself. Two black holes had collided far away, long ago, and the shockwave, a gravitational wave, had traveled across the cosmic dark to nudge our detectors on Earth. LIGO, the Laser Interferometer, Gravitational Wave Observatory. It caught the chirp, the song of two giants merging into one. From a soundless universe, we heard, and each time since, as more waves arrived, we began to listen more closely. Black holes were not silent after all. They rang, like bells struck by spacetime itself. They announced their unions in ripples we could measure. And now we stand at the edge of possibility, imaging the shadows, listening to the waves, following the firelight around the abyss. Some say we'll soon see movies, not just snapshots. The black hole spinning in real time, the photon ring pulsing, time dragging at the edge of light. Others build theories, old ones, of firewalls, quantum chaos, information woven into the horizon like a cosmic screen. They ask, does the black hole erase or encode? Does the universe lose things? Or does it keep everything just differently? Maybe those shadows aren't emptiness. Maybe they're memory. Maybe the ring of fire burns with stories, encoded, encrypted, written in gravity script. You float now, just above one. A black hole, not as an end, but as a doorway. Its shadow flickers beneath you. You don't fall, not this time. You only reflect on the journey here, on the things you've learned, not by light, but by what light avoids. The stories told in silence, the truths shaped like holes, the maps drawn by absence. You understand now the universe is as much about what hides as what shines. Its deepest answers live in the places we almost gave up looking, where gravity bends even light to its will, where our spacetime draws a curtain not to conceal, but to beckon. And still, beneath the math, beneath the measurement, there is awe. You feel it in your chest, in your breath, in the way your thoughts slow as they near the edge. Because black holes are not only science, they are mystery, still, and perhaps always. But in that mystery, we've found mirrors, ways to see ourselves, our hunger to know, our courage to question, our refusal to stop wondering. The shadows we've seen have lit us from within, and maybe that's how it always was meant to be. You might think black holes are rare, that they sit alone like monsters, guarding lonely corners of space, that they are singular anomalies, born only in the most spectacular and tragic cosmic events. But look again, look closer, look everywhere. The universe, as it turns out, is full of them. Full of these dark hearts, these collapsed giants, these whispering wells of gravity. Not just a few, not just in exotic galaxies, light years away, but everywhere, in every direction, in every age, across the sky, like unseen stars that do not shine. Billions, hundreds of billions, some formed from stars gone cold, their nuclear fires spent, their cores caved in under their own weight. Others, far stranger, may have formed before the stars themselves. Primordial black holes, they're called, born in the first breath of the universe. From density alone, no star required. If they exist, and we're still searching, they could be as small as a mountain or as wide as a planet. They could be scattered like dust through the cosmic dark. They could even be the missing mass we call dark matter. But these are theories, whispers, clues. Let's return to what we know. We know with certainty that most galaxies, perhaps all, harbor a black hole in their heart, a supermassive one, millions, even billions of times the mass of our sun. Why? We're still learning. But it seems they're not just passengers in galaxies. They may be architects. The galaxy grows as the black hole feeds. The stars arrange themselves around its gravity, like dancers around an invisible partner. Some black holes spin rapidly, warping space-time like a spoon in syrup. Some emit jets of particles, thin, violent streams that stretch across intergalactic space, shaping gas, triggering new stars, or halting them. Yes, black holes can create and destroy. They can regulate entire galaxies, deciding when stars will bloom or wither. Imagine that. Anything that devours light, also giving birth to constellations. But the real flood of black holes, the true abundance, is smaller. Not the giants, but the stellar kind. The ones born from stars like ours, but heavier, hotter, more short-lived. These black holes form when the core collapses in a supernova. The outer layers explode, but the center keeps falling and falling and falling until it becomes an object so dense not even light can flee. There are millions in our own galaxy right now, wandering, orbiting, sleeping, invisible, until something gets too close. Then a flare of X-rays, a brief, violent hello. Some drift alone, their past long forgotten. Some still tug at stars, stealing matter, bit by bit, spinning it into odd disks that shine like miniature quasars. Others we find by watching their effect on what orbits them. Even without light, their gravity draws a map, and as our instruments sharpen, we see more. The James Webb Space Telescope, with its deep gaze, may reveal black holes in infant galaxies, holes that shape structure from the start. Meanwhile, gravitational wave detectors catch their collisions. We've detected dozens now, black holes crashing into each other, shaking space-time. singing in frequencies only the universe can hear. It's a new astronomy, one without light, one built on motion and mass alone. But we'll build space-based detectors, ones that can catch lower frequencies, the slow booms of truly massive mergers. And from that, a map will emerge, the black hole census, a picture not of starlight, but of shadowlight, a universe not of what shines, but of what shapes. And in all of this, we're learning something deeper, that black holes are not rare exceptions. They are rules written in gravity, endings, yes, but common ones, transformations, not erasures. Every second, somewhere in the universe, a star is collapsing. A black hole is being born, and somewhere else, two are spiraling in, destined to merge in a final, echoing dance. They are not strange outliers. They are part of the rhythm of the cosmos. And they might be even more than that. Some physicists think that black holes are the key to quantum gravity, that in their paradoxes, the information loss, the event horizon, the singularity, lie the clues to unite Einstein's smooth curves with the jittering dance of particles. Others wonder if black holes are not just destinations, but beginnings. Could the core of a black hole birth a new universe? The bounds instead of a wall? Could black holes be portals to somewhere else? Could our own universe be the interior of a black hole from a larger cosmos? These are not wild dreams, but serious questions carried on equations and peer-reviewed paths. The answers aren't here yet, but the questions are growing clearer. And that is how science moves. From shadows, from silence, from asking again and again what else might be true. So now you float again in this star-flecked dark, and you imagine out there, all around, are these unseen wells, some quiet, some growing, some colliding, a universe not empty, but textured with gravity's deepest folds. You understand now, they're not rare beasts. They are everywhere, in galaxies, in clusters, in the spaces between. A quiet population of cosmic ghosts. And perhaps the real miracle is not that they exist, but that we can know them, that light can trace their edge, that gravity can sing their name, that thought can follow them past the edge of time. And maybe, if the universe is full of black holes, then it is also full of mystery and wonder and unfinished stories. You've heard the falling, the cries of light as it bends toward the abyss. You've watched time slow at the event horizon until every second was stretched into silence. You've drifted past spinning rings, watched the stars vanish behind that quiet mouth, and now you wonder, what lies beyond? Is there an other side to something that swallows sides whole? Is there an after? We speak of black holes as if they're tombstones, endings carved in space-time. But nature rarely ends without beginning again. And so physicists ask, could there be a path through the singularity? Could something wait beyond that final veil? Let's begin again at the center. The singularity, that point of infinite density, infinite curvature. The laws we know break there. Equations explode. But maybe the breakdown isn't the end. Maybe it's the signal that a new theory is needed. Einstein's gravity is smooth, continuous, but the quantum world is granular, pixelated, buzzing with uncertainty. In the singularity, these two realms collide. Quantum gravity, that long-sought union, may smooth the singular point into something else, a bridge, a bounce, a tunnel. And that tunnel, some say, might lead to another universe, a white hole. If a black hole is the inescapable in, then a white hole is the irreversible out, a mirrored twin, a fountain instead of a drain. The math allows for it. Solutions to Einstein's equations describe white holes, but nature hasn't shown us one. Not yet. Still, some theories, like loop quantum gravity, suggest that collapse does not end in a singularity. Instead, the core rebounds. Space-time contracts, then expands again. The black hole births a new region of space and time, a new beginning, born inside the end. This idea echoes even larger. Some wonder, was our universe born inside such a bounce? Could the Big Bang be the other side of some ancient black hole? In this vision, every black hole might spawn a baby universe, a pocket of space, sealed from its parent, and within, new physics, new stars, new possibilities. But here's a twist. What if the physical constants, the strength of gravity, the charge of electrons, the mass of particles, change in each daughter universe? Then natural selection could act not on creatures, but on cosmos. Black holes that create stable, fertile universes would be more common, a kind of evolution for reality itself. Speculative? Yes, but not impossible. And meanwhile, other bridges tempt us. Wormholes, also allowed by general relativity, if you thread them with exotic matter, stuff with negative energy. Wormhole connects 2 points in space or time, or even 2 different universes. A shortcut, a tunnel through the mountain of space-time. The throat of a wormhole might look like a black hole from outside, all in, and you emerge somewhere else, someone else. Science fiction loves this, and the math smiles too. But we've never seen a wormhole, and exotic matter remains elusive. Still, the idea lingers. A black hole, especially a rotating one, might secretly be a doorway. Its singularity, not a dead end, but a passage. So what awaits on the other side? It depends on which theory you believe. It could be a white hole spitting matter into a new universe. It could be the Big Bang wearing a different face. It could be a tear in the fabric that leads into realms we cannot imagine. It could be nothing at all, just the end, a place where time stops breathing. But here's the poetry hidden in the math. We can't see inside. The event horizon guards its secrets. We learn by shadows, by echoes, by waves in the fabric of existence. Gravitational waves from black hole collisions carry information, but only from the outside. No message has ever come back from within. So our best theories reach past the veil with thought alone. And yet, we are not empty-handed. Simulations grow stronger. Equations bend deeper. Telescopes like the Event Horizon capture images of shadow halos, letting us peer closer to the brink. And in time, we may learn how to listen to space-time itself. One day, perhaps, someone will build a quantum theory of gravity, a theory that doesn't shatter at the singularity, one that tells us what spacetime is at its smallest scales. Then we might know what happens at the core of a black hole, not just what it does, but what it becomes. For now, we imagine. We imagine a universe in which every black hole holds a mystery deeper than death. A promise, not a prison. See, of another cosmos, another set of stars, another sky, the multiverse, woven together by silent bridges, a tree with roots buried in singularities. And if even one of these dreams is true, then the universe is far stranger than we've dared believe. Not a static stage, but a living web, a place where endings are illusions, a place where falling in might mean beginning again. So tonight, as your thoughts drift through dark matter and glowing rings, remember this. Black holes do not sit still. They spin, they merge, they grow, and in their silent hearts may lie the next act of creation. We may never cross their threshold. We may never return from their depths. But that does not mean there's nothing there. It only means we are not yet ready to follow. But we are watching, listening, learning. And in that quiet attention, we approach the edge of knowing. The other side is not just out there. It's in our questions, our equations, our reaching minds. The universe is full of them. Black holes, mysteries, doors we haven't opened. And one day, perhaps, we will step through. The stars have listened, and so have you. With a quiet heart and a curious mind, drifting through the dark on a thread of wonder. You've wandered beyond equations and edges, past gravity's hush, and into the breathless beauty of what might be. And though this story slows, the dreaming doesn't end. It lingers in the folds of time, in the spaces between thoughts, in the warmth of a question left open. So close your eyes, float gently back to shore. The cosmos will keep whispering, and when you're ready to listen again, I'll be here with another dream from the far side of the sky. Good night from the Dreamy Physicist.